Hi, I'm Mike, founder of goodbed.com. Today we're excited to be here to be reviewing the Bear mattress. And this is an interesting mattress because it's one that the company designed specifically to improve pain relief and muscle recovery for people who have an active lifestyle. And they really specifically went out to target athletes when they first launched. And so this is an interesting story and we're excited to show it to you. Stick around. So one of the first things we like to describe about any mattress is just how firm or soft it is. And in the case of the Bear mattress, this is a mattress like many of its online competitors that's available in only one softness level. And we would describe this as something very close to a medium firm, but it's just a little softer than that. We'd call it a straight up medium. But it is really right kind of in between those two. But we're going to classify it as a medium, but just recognize that if you've watched other reviews of ours, this is a little on the firmer side relative to some of the other ones we might describe as medium. So now let's dive into the details of what's actually in a Bear mattress. And as you can see here, this is a mattress that is, first of all, 10 inches in total height, and it has 4 layers. Now the top layer is 1 inch of graphite gel memory foam, which is in a 4-pound density. And basically what you're seeing there is it's memory foam that's infused with 2 conductors, gel and graphite. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the temperature section later in the video. But the other thing I want to point out now is just to show you kind of, this is memory foam. It does have that delayed responsiveness. But in the scheme of things, it's pretty quick responding as memory foam goes. But it is fairly soft. One of the things about the construction of this Bear mattress is it uses that sort of progressive design in terms of progressively firmer layers as you go down into the mattress, which is a pretty tried and true type of mattress design. So you see here, softest, this is still pretty soft, this second layer, which is a 3-pound density foam that they describe as kind of like a cross between latex and memory foam. It is a polyurethane foam, and I would say it certainly has a little bit of bounce. It's quick responding. It's not in any way slow responding like memory foam. But because it's pretty soft, it definitely provides some pressure relief as well. This one here is the same material, but just in a firmer, just in a higher firmness. So you can see here I'd press down the same amount and I don't go nearly as far in there versus there. So that's 1 inch of that same 3-pound density polyurethane foam. And then below that you have your principal support layer, which is a 6.5 inch layer of 1.8 pound density polyurethane foam. Now all of that is wrapped into a cover that, in addition to being what we think is aesthetically pleasing, and also sturdily built, has one of the more interesting aspects of the Bear story woven into it, which is a fiber called Celliant. Now Celliant is a company that makes this fiber, and basically their claim is that this fiber will actually help increase blood flow and circulation, and thereby actually even help with things like cell revitalization. Now obviously that's a claim that we're in no position to either confirm or refute. However, we are of the understanding that this is a product, this Celliant fiber, that they've actually entered FDA approval process or entered the process to obtain FDA approval for various treatments and usages. So we think of this is something that you can look into on your own and kind of come to your own judgment about. But nonetheless, we have to mention it because it is an important part of why Bear chose to include that fiber in their cover, because it does kind of support the Bear objective and their target of helping with muscle recovery and pain relief for athletes and others with an active lifestyle. So at any rate, those holistically are the materials and construction of the Bear mattress. So now let's dive into the 2 things that absolutely everybody must get from their mattress, which are back support and pressure relief. And as we talked about earlier, this is a mattress that's right close to the medium part of that softness spectrum. So it really will have the broadest appeal in terms of the addressable audience from a back support standpoint. And we'll see that as we go through the various positions. But what I'm going to do is start on my back because that's the position I predominantly sleep in. And just for context, I'm about 6 feet tall, not quite 200 pounds. And what you can see here is that my back is very well supported in this position. The important thing on your back is that the curvature of your spine is maintained, which you can see here. My hips are allowed to sink into the mattress enough that that curve at the lower part of my spine is able to be maintained, but also the mattress is reaching up into that lumbar area to make sure that that is also supported. So definitely feeling like I'm getting good support here in the back position. And I really think that most people of within a wide range of weights would feel pretty well supported in this position on this mattress. So maybe just excluding the extremes of extremely light or extremely heavy, but otherwise back sleepers are pretty well served by this mattress. I'm going to flip over to my stomach now and let you see this position. And again, now stomach sleepers generally need a firmer mattress, but medium usually will work. And so this is like just at the softest end of, or towards the soft end of where we would kind of cut off a stomach sleeper. So overall, I feel like for me, I'm well supported in this position on this mattress. I do think though, if I were someone significantly heavier, or not even that significantly, but if I were 25 to 50 pounds heavier than me, I think I might want something a bit firmer if I'm a stomach sleeper. But otherwise, I think that stomach sleepers would be pretty well served on this mattress, certainly folks who are my size or lighter. And that's from a back support standpoint, but also from a pressure relief standpoint to the extent that you sometimes can get pressure points when you're sleeping on your stomach. But now I'm going to switch over to my side, and that's really the position where you do need to think about both back support and pressure relief, because in this position you have to be keeping your spine in that neutral position, which is basically horizontal when you're in this position. But you also have to be thinking about the fact that your body's weight is distributed over the smallest surface area. So you're going to be most prone to what are called pressure points in this position, particularly your shoulders and your hips. So let's start with the back support. I mean, overall, I feel like for my size and body shape, I'm fairly well aligned. I mean, my shoulder's able to get into the mattress a fair amount. I mean, I think there's still a little bit of up tilt in the top of my spine, but it's not something that caused me any problems on this mattress. Now, again, I don't spend the predominance of the night in this position, but overall, I think I would be okay as a side sleeper on this mattress. And in general, I think, someone, again, I feel like the point about a fairly broad range of weights, maybe excluding people who are really light or really heavy, would be pretty well served from a back support standpoint on this mattress on their side. Now, from a pressure relief standpoint, what I can say is that the pressure relief is certainly okay, maybe even good. It's not maybe as good as it would be if there were more memory foam, or if it was firmer memory foam that really had more of that like melting away from you kind of sensation. This memory foam, there's 1 inch of it, and it's pretty soft, so you kind of go through it pretty quickly, and most of your pressure relief is then coming from those layers underneath it, which are still pretty good. So definitely I'm not having a problem with pressure points, but again, I don't spend the majority of the night in this position. But all that said, I also I wouldn't expect someone would likely have pressure points on this mattress, except for maybe people who are significantly heavier than me and side sleepers, where I do wonder whether you might kind of go through those top 2 softer layers and you start to end up on that third transition layer, or maybe even more so if you ended up on that last layer. If you were significantly heavier than me, you might end up on that bottom layer, which is not going to be the ideal from a pressure relief standpoint. So again, from a pressure relief standpoint, I feel like a fairly broad range of weights in the middle of the spectrum is pretty well served by this mattress. So now we're going to dive into some of the more preference-based criteria. And by that we mean things that can be one way or another neither of which is better or worse. It just comes down to your preference. And the first of those is responsiveness, which by that we mean to what degree does it have that kind of slow responding memory feel versus a quick responding bounce. And so first let's look at the memory feel aspect of this, because this does have memory foam in it. And the best way to look at that is just to kind of press down on the mattress and see how it responds. And what you can see is that almost all of the mattress comes immediately back. And you saw this when we did the cutaway as well. But just that top inch has a little bit of that slow responsiveness. And even that isn't that slow. So a little bit of memory feel, but not that much. And we also talked about in the previous section how when you're settling into the mattress, you go through that 1-inch layer of memory foam pretty quickly. So you don't get a ton of that like melting out from underneath you, really any to speak of that melting into the bed sort of feel that you might think of when you think of memory foam. It's really, it's not a deep enough layer of memory foam or a dense, firm enough layer to give you that feel. So a little bit of memory feel, but not much. Now in terms of the bounce, we start usually with the surface to sort of just test. And you see, it's pretty neutral. I mean, there's a little bit of springiness to the extent that I push hard enough to get through the memory foam into those next layers. But if I'm just sort of lightly pushing, I'm mostly just dealing with that memory foam layer. Not a lot of bounce in that, obviously. So let's kind of turn our attention to a level deeper into the mattress by dropping this 16-pound bowling ball. And there you see actually a fair amount of bounce for an all-foam mattress that has memory foam in it. And I think that's a reflection of the fact that A, there's not that much memory foam, and B, the layers underneath it, particularly those next two layers, they definitely have a little bit of bounce, pretty quick resilience to them. So, and now let's go with what we call the deep bounce test. And I'll just plop my whole 200-pound frame down on the mattress. And, again, I feel like just a tiny bit of bounce. You get more so than certainly more so than if this was a mattress with 4 to 5 inches of memory foam by far. And again, I think that's a reflection of the fact that this polyurethane core has just a little bit of bounce as well. So if I had to add all that up and put this on the responsiveness spectrum, I would honestly put this right dead in the middle. In spite of it being a mattress that has memory foam in it, it's not really over towards the memory foam side of the spectrum. It doesn't have enough of that to put it there. And it has just a little bit of bounce. So I'd kind of put it right in the middle because it has a little bit of both sides of that spectrum. The next preference-based criteria we're going to cover is cushioning depth, because some people prefer to sleep more in their mattress where they're being kind of hugged or cradled by it, whereas others prefer that feeling of more floating on top of their mattress. And in the case of the Bear mattress, you're not really going to be at either of those two extremes. You're really just somewhere right in the middle, because we would describe this as more of a medium amount of cushioning depth. And the other thing we think about with cushioning depth is the degree to like how closely does it conform to your curves. And again, I would say this is a characteristic where Bear kind of falls right in the middle. So as you can see here, I'm not nearly as deeply sinking into the mattress as I am on some of the mattresses we've reviewed, but I am sinking in a little bit. And likewise, the curve, the slope that it comes down as it starts to conform to my body isn't nearly as close as some, but it's also closer than some. So you can see it here with the bowling ball, maybe a little easier since we've used this in most of our reviews. And again, with some of the more conforming mattresses, it's almost like the mattress goes right up to the ball. And with some of our least conforming mattresses, it's almost like a huge bowl around the ball. This is neither of those. It's really sort of right in between, as well as in between in terms of how far the ball goes down. So medium amount of cushioning depth and medium amount of conformance. Now we're going to get into some of the more priority-based criteria. And by that we mean things that a mattress can be better or worse at that may or may not be a priority for you. And the first of those is motion isolation, which you may know means to what degree is the person on that far side of the mattress aware of or affected by the motions and activity over on this side. We're going to first test this by dropping this 16-pound bowling ball here. And we just drop it from a standard height. And what you can see is the bowling pin does not tip over, but it does move a little bit. Now, it's an interesting thing we're going to show you here. But first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to plop my 200-pound frame down on this same part of the bed. And in that case, the bowling pin did tip over. Now, what's interesting is you might be thinking, why would an all-foam mattress transfer motion across the bed? Well, it's not the foam that's transferring the motion. It's actually this very tightly stretched cover. We see this a lot with mattresses that have covers like this, where there's actually motion transfer in the cover. I can actually move that bowling pin just by pressing down on the cover. What's interesting about this cover is that the stretch is only across the bed. It doesn't go vertically. So for example, if I were to plop down the same way right here, it doesn't tip over. I'm only 12 to 18 inches from where I just plopped down, and it made a ton of difference. And that's because when I plop down here, it only stretches the fabric here closer to me. It doesn't stretch that fabric. So anyways, we have to do this test. It's a consistent test that we do for all mattresses. But when we get results like this that don't necessarily jive with what our expectations would be for an all-foam mattress, which should have excellent motion isolation, we have to explain them. So that's what we did. Overall, we would say this does have very good motion isolation, but to the extent you're going to feel some motion, it's going to be because the cover itself does transfer a little bit of motion. One concern for some people that we want to touch on briefly is the ease of repositioning, particularly when a mattress contains memory foam. But what we want to show you here is that there's really not enough memory foam, and the memory foam is quickly responding enough that this is really a non-issue on this mattress. There's no difficulty moving around on this mattress. Another important consideration for some people is temperature or sleeping hot. And this can be a particular concern with a mattress that contains memory foam, as this one does. And in general, this is a mattress that is entirely made of foam, which means it's not going to have nearly as much airflow as, say, a mattress made with a bunch of springs. However, Bear has done a few things, and this mattress just in general has a few things going for it that do mitigate that to a great degree. First of all, I just want to explain the reason memory foam gets a bad rap when it comes to temperature is really because of two things. Number one, it's a very dense foam relative to other foams, or at least it tends to be. And the second thing is that it tends to conform quite closely to your body, which means that less of your body's surface area is exposed to the air and thereby allowed to efficiently dispel heat. And this can be accentuated when the memory foam has a deep amount of cushioning. But we talked about how this is a mattress that in general has only a medium amount of cushioning, and it's not super close conforming. It's kind of medium in its degree of conforming to your body overall. So that means that more of your body surface area is allowed to breathe, if you will, than on maybe a conventional memory foam mattress. The second thing that this has going for it is that the memory foam that is in this mattress has two conductors that are kind of mixed into it, both gel particles as well as graphite. And basically what that does is it allows the heat to kind of travel through the foam and thereby away from your body a little bit. And then the third thing is that in this cover they have this Celliant material, which again, the claim there is that Celliant helps your body regulate its internal temperature a little bit. There's no way for us to validate that or not, but that is again like something that that there are tests being done to try to prove that. Overall, we don't think that relative to other foam mattresses, this is likely to be the type of mattress that you're going to have overheating issues on. And the only other thing I can say is that from my own personal perspective, I'm not someone who tends to get hot when I sleep. But for what it's worth, I have not experienced any overheating issues on the Bear mattress. Another important concern for some people is edge support. So we always take a look at this in our reviews, and this is an area where in general all foam mattresses just generally don't excel. And I would say the Bear mattress is kind of no exception to that. You can certainly see as I'm sitting on the edge of the bed, there's quite a bit of dip here. That being said, I don't feel unstable in any way as I sit here. But I guess if I'm trying to compare Bear to its other all foam peers, when I lay down on the mattress, on the edge, I always get my shoulder blade right here for consistency, and you know, I do feel just ever so slightly like I'm tilting, but not enough that like I'm unstable in this position, and that actually is better than many. So overall, it's certainly relative to it's certainly not a strength of this mattress in the grand scheme of the mattress world, but in the online mattress all foam universe, it's probably at least average, if not above average, in this department. Another important consideration for some people is the degree of natural materials in the mattress, or maybe more so just the lack of harmful chemicals. And in this case, this is not in any way a natural mattress, nor does the company claim it to be one. However, there are a couple things that you can take some comfort from on this front. First and foremost, all of the foams used in this mattress are certified to the CertiPure standard, which is an industry standard that essentially looks for the presence of various harmful materials, and it certifies that they are not present beyond some minimally acceptable threshold. And it also looks at the off-gassing of those chemicals, and again, sort of certifies that it is below a minimally acceptable threshold. So that's certainly an important thing that can give you some reassurance with this mattress on that front. And the other thing that the company mentions that we can't speak to as well is that they don't use glues, they instead use water-based adhesives. So we presume that the inference there is that these water-based adhesives off-gas less than the glues. But again, we can't speak to that much beyond that. But in either case, those are two things that you can take some comfort from on this front. One thing we get asked about more and more these days is adjustable base compatibility. So we thought we'd just show you the Bear mattress on an adjustable base in this elevated position. And one of the things we think about first and foremost when it comes to adjustable base compatibility is this going to damage the mattress in any way? And the answer for sure with the Bear mattress is no. I mean, this is an all foam construction. Foam can absolutely bend and not be damaged. So in that sense, it's fully adjustable base compatible. The other thing we look at is, does the mattress get weird in any way when you put it in this position? Does it bow out here, or does it buckle here? I would say no is the answer to those questions. Everything seems to be kind of good to go as it relates to those. And then the last thing we look at is just kind of how well does it conform to the curves of a base. And on that front, what you can see here is that this being still a very new mattress, it's not yet broken in, and so at this point it doesn't yet conform that well. You see the feet sticking up a little bit. Those are always the last part to kind of conform. But even on this side of the mattress, if you were able to see the side that no one's sitting on, it's not fully conforming to the kind of valley there. So again, this is just something, a matter of breaking in the mattress, but we wanted to just share that with you to the extent that you end up getting your Bear mattress and putting it on an adjustable base and experiencing this. I don't think it's something to be alarmed about. I do think that over time, the mattress will conform better and better, but this is how it looks when the mattress is still pretty new. So overall, we definitely would say that this is an adjustable base friendly mattress. One important consideration when you're buying a mattress online is return policy, because you're not going to be able to try the Bear mattress before you buy it. So like many of its online competitors, Bear offers a very generous return policy, which is you can try this mattress in your home for 100 nights and return it for any reason if you're not satisfied, and you'll get a full refund. The only thing that they ask is that you try the mattress for at least 30 days just to kind of give your body a chance to adjust to the foam. But the other thing that they do that goes kind of above and beyond some of their online competitors is that in the case of a return, they'll even arrange to have the mattress picked up from your house, which definitely saves you some hassle relative to some of their online competitors. So overall, we definitely think that this is a return policy that can definitely give you a lot of extra confidence in giving the Bear mattress a try. One thing that's important to just about every mattress shopper is value. And when we think about value, we always think about how much does it cost, what's in it, and how long do we think it's going to last. In terms of the cost, the current price of the Bear mattress is $850 in a queen size. And that's before the good bed discount would be applied. And you can also get a matching foundation, which is an additional $250. In terms of what you're getting a 10-inch all-foam mattress with what we would describe as 3.5 inches of premium comfort layers, which would be specifically that top 1 inch of 4-pound density gel graphite memory foam, plus that next 2.5 inches of 3-pound density response foam. And then below that, you have the 6.5 inch layer of 1.8 pound density polyurethane support foam. And then all of that is wrapped in this cover, which contains the Celliant material, which is maybe just the most unique attribute of the Bear mattress, since it's a material that we've not really seen used in many, if any, other mattresses. So in terms of how long we think that's going to last, I mean, overall, focusing on the foams and the densities of those foams, because that's really the best predictor of longevity that we have to go on. There's no obvious weak links in this mattress. Those are all pretty solid densities. They're not kind of at the highest level, but they're definitely solid, and they're certainly in line with the majority of their online peers. And I'd say that they compare favorably to what you might find in a local store, certainly at this price point, if you are even able to find out what the densities are at a product at this price point in your local store. So overall, we would say that particularly if you're someone who kind of really values the Celliant component of the mattress, that this is definitely a good value. But even without that, it's right in line with its online peers and would presumably compare favorably to what you might find in your local store as well. So even without the Celliant being an important part of your consideration, we would still say this is a good value. So just to summarize some of the things we've covered in this video, the Bear mattress is a 10-inch all-foam mattress with a medium softness level. We talked about how this is a mattress that actually has the ability to serve a pretty wide range of weights and sleep positions. However, if you're someone who's at either extreme of the weight spectrum, either very heavy or very light, then this might not be the optimal choice for you. Likewise, we talked about how this mattress is right in the middle on a lot of metrics, like not just softness, but also cushioning depth and the degree of conformance, as well as the amount of responsiveness. So for example, if you're someone who really likes a mattress that has some bounce or more of a traditional mattress feel, you're not really going to get a whole lot of that on this mattress. Likewise, although some people might call this a memory foam mattress, you're not really going to get much, if any, of that really slow responding memory feel from this mattress. In fact, we wouldn't even describe this mattress as a memory foam mattress because there actually isn't quite enough memory foam for us to consider it to be a memory foam mattress. And likewise, you're not going to quite get that feeling of either floating on top of your mattress or really being hugged or cradled by your mattress if either of those is something specifically that you're after. What you're going to get is something that's more in the middle on all those various dimensions. And we talked about how this is a mattress that's made with good materials at a competitive price point. And so if you're someone who's looking for those things, and maybe most of all, if you're someone for whom the the story of the Bear mattress in terms of their efforts to build a mattress designed for muscle recovery and pain relief for people who have an active lifestyle. If that's something that resonates with you, and particularly if you are someone who values the benefits that having a salient fiber in the cover would bring to you, and if all the other criteria and considerations that we described in this video feel like a good match for you, then we definitely think that the Bear mattress is one that you should consider. So we hope you found this video helpful in determining whether the Bear mattress is the right mattress for you. If you're still not sure though, we'd really recommend that you go to goodbed.com and take our mattress match quiz, which you can find right up in the header of any page of our website. This quiz will basically walk you through all of the same criteria and considerations that we covered in this video, and ultimately it will show you mattresses that best match your personal needs and preferences, both online as well as in the local stores in your area. In fact, you can even, after taking the quiz, go back to any of the product profile pages on GoodBed, including for the Bear mattress, and see your personal match score for that product along with an explanation of how we calculated that. So we really think this is a useful resource that you ought to take advantage of. That's it though, and we thank you for watching, and we really hope you sleep well.